Horado rock pools. We're on our way to visit the crystal clear rock pools in the mountains around the Japanese town of Horado. As we drive along the flat fields, we can see the mountains surrounding the town of Horado in the distance. As this is a rural area, most of the flat land is used for growing rice, and most of the houses are indicative of rural dwellings, being large with large yards, compared to city dwellings where space is much more restricted. Once we enter the mountainous region, we can see the steepness of the mountain ranges enveloping small communities. Here we can see the first mountain stream as the water makes its journey to the ocean. Being a volcanically active country, Japan's rivers, and particularly its mountain streams, are lined with predominantly volcanic rock and sandy rock particles, which keeps the water in such waterways crystal clear and devoid of sediment and mud, which characterize many other countries' waterways. This mountain stream has cut its path, perhaps over millions of years, through the mountain ranges, and as we can see from the marks on the bank, this stream can carry, and has carried, a far greater amount of water than is currently flowing now. As we make our way up into the mountains, both the road and the mountain stream narrow, until we arrive where the stream is at its narrowest and steepest, and the water cascades down over the volcanic boulders. Over time, this running water has gouged out nooks and crannies and pockets in its path. We call these flat, deep pockets of water rock pools. They occur periodically on flat pieces of land where the rock and nature have eroded away to form large pools of still water. Water crashing down over rocks, called waterfalls, hits the base, further gouging out the pool below. Being all rock, or the crushed particles of rock, means there is no muddy sediment being stirred up in the water, and thus the water and rock pools are crystal clear and an ideal swimming and relaxation venue during the hot summer months. Being elevated also keeps the water at a refreshingly cool temperature, even during the hot summers. Over time, with the constant flow of water, particularly during periods of heavy rainfall and melting snow, has resulted in many of the rock pools being quite deep, almost resembling swimming pools. As you'll notice, most rock pools are at the base of waterfalls, albeit them small waterfalls, where the water streams down at its fastest, hitting the base of the waterfall and gouging out a hole. Almost, it could be said, quite violently. This constant gouging over time gradually expands the size of the rock pool below. Water cascades down through and over steep inclinations of rocks, settling on flat areas below. But where does all this water come from? Endlessly flowing, even in periods of little or no rainfall. In winter, and more importantly spring, this particular area has a lot of melting snow, which can account for a vast majority of the water. But what about summer, when this footage was taken? and during a period of relatively no rainfall. Here is the answer. Water permeating directly from the mountain, or more correctly, underground springs throughout the mountains. Here we can see water dripping from the stream bank in a valley between the mountains. Although only drips and trickles, this amount over a wide area adds millions of litres a year to the streams, creeks and rivers in this area. Unlike many other countries, like Australia, which is the driest continent on Earth, it is clear to see that Japan has an abundance of groundwater. Many of these underground springs are hot, resulting from volcanic activity, and are turned into and utilized as recreational hot springs called onsens. Many cold underwater springs, like those feeding this stream, pour an endless amount of water into Japan's waterways. And despite a reasonably large population, Japan has so far escaped many of the water shortages currently afflicting many countries. Here the water has carved a path through sheer rock and continues to do so on a daily basis, albeit very slowly. If Japan were to compare itself to many other countries around the world, especially a country like Australia, it could consider itself quite fortunate to have such an abundance of fresh water. Due to climate change, many countries face severe water shortages and droughts. Yet even in times of little or no rainfall, Japan has creeks and rock pools like this one, supplying the country with millions of litres of fresh water. In terms of fresh water supply, Japan would indeed be the envy of many countries around the world.
So anything of Tropican Beach